Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I'm coming on to bring a message specifically for the chosen seed. This message is in regards to those of you who have often wondered why you've always had a hard time, why you've always had to struggle, where was this energy coming from, and why was it inherently passed down to you? You may also notice that when you look back in those generations that preceded you, whether it's on your mother's side of the family or your father's side of the family, that certain behavior patterns, certain illnesses, certain relationship patterns, mental illness, they go back for generations, okay? And so this is all part of the generational curses. Now, I did a video about this. There was a message that came through me that the Most High put on my heart to bring in regards to the curses that were placed over, especially the melanated people here in America, through the curses in the book of Deuteronomy, okay? And the reason why that message came through is because I was shown in the spiritual realm that the so-called powers that were, they not only used mental manipulation against us, they also understood the importance of using spiritual manipulation against us. And what does that mean? Spiritual manipulation looks like spell work, dark magic. That is what a curse is, okay? And so this message is going to help you to get some clarity about what curses were placed over you by the enemy, because as a chosen seed, if you have come to a space now where you know that you are chosen, you're not just believing, you're not speculating, you're not trying to figure it out, but you know you are chosen, then you must also know that you have enemies. Quite naturally, you have enemies, okay? As a chosen seed, our enemy is this power structure, okay? And those who are behind the scenes that you don't see, who desire to maintain their position of power, but they work directly against the chosen, because we are the ones that come in to shift the energy. We are the ones that come in to bring justice, to balance the scales. And so the agenda has been to keep you in this space of mental imprisonment, spiritual imprisonment, physical imprisonment, financial imprisonment, okay? Every facet of your being, they wanted to make sure that they kept shackled down and bound, okay? Underneath their spell, underneath their wicked intentions, and underneath their sick desire to maintain control. And the agenda was for this to last for many generations to come. Not to just end with you, but your offspring to also carry out those same curses that was placed over you. But the difference between then and now is that we're in a totally different age. And the Most High is doing a new thing. The Most High is awakening us up out of sleep, okay? We was in a sleep state. So in a sleep state, when you think about like hypnosis, for instance, right? Hypnosis is before they can actually program you to do something, they have to first put you in a sleep state. And in that sleep state, you're not in that energy of resistance, okay? And so this is where, in the age of Pisces, which is where we just left out of, we was definitely in a sleep state. And in that sleep state was when the enemy was able to come in and strip us of our remembrance of who we are, our identity, our spiritual connection, our power, our authority, our wisdom. Many of these things was taken and they stripped it from us to feed the beast the beast that they created, both physically and spiritually. They took our wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, all that we had in our Akashic records, and they used it to generate, as a generator, to create the power structure that they currently sit on, but is coming down. So this message is going to be so we can get a little bit deeper in terms of how was this spell work used against you. We're going to start off here. Look at that, 10 of Swords, okay? So I got my cards here, and I'm just randomly pulling just to see. 10 of Swords is here. A lot of pain, a lot of abuse, backstabbing. This energy was supposed to take you out. If you know you a chosen seed, you're not supposed, according to the enemy, you ain't even supposed to be here. This energy, all of these various situations that you had to go through was supposed to put you on your face and keep you there, to bring you so low that you would never be able to awaken. And this is that sleep state, okay? That sleep state, you was put under that sleep, under that spell through a lot of painful events, through a lot of trauma, through a lot of mental, spiritual manipulation. This is all of that backstabbing energy. So you've been through a lot as a chosen seed. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's impossible because there's infinite possibilities out here. But the majority, 99.9% of the chosen seed, if you're a chosen seed and you know you're a chosen seed, then you have been through a life, okay? You have been through some things. And most of the time it begins in your adolescence, in your childhood, okay? Because the enemy, get this, when we are born, these hospitals, Western medicine, when you're born into these hospitals, the first thing that they do is they record the time of your birth, the day of your birth, and the month of your birth, and of course the year of your birth. Now, these 4 pieces of information, including your name, first and last name, are very vital. Why? Spiritually, why are these pieces of information very vital? Because obviously in a physical realm, they have all of these other things that's going on with manipulation, social security numbers, birth certificates, that keeps you underneath their power structure and pretty much as their slave, as trade for them. But in the spiritual realm, having those essential pieces of information will allow someone to gather access through your natal chart. They're able to look at all of your placements and to determine a large part of who you are and what you were sent here to do. And the goal of the enemy has been that you will always be in a sleep state. In this state, you would never awaken and say, let me see what's going on here. Let me see if I can, figure out what I was placed here to do, because they're going to give you religion that's going to tell you, oh, you better not seek information. You better not look into your natal chart because that's wickedness. Okay. They're going to give you traumatic events that's going to make you feel like you so low that you just can't get up from it. That's what you have gone through. That's the spiritual manipulation that the enemy has done against the chosen. Okay. Let's see what else the enemy has done against the chosen, y'all. Okay. Look at that. Poverty, illness, being left out in the cold, never feeling like you was accepted, always feeling abandonment. Abandonment was a large part. Many of the chosen seed have been abandoned. Foster care, or whether you was in a home where you was abandoned by your parents, one or more parents was not there. Some of you was not raised by any of your parents. Some of you was in a household with your parents, but they still maybe played favoritism over other siblings and made you feel, like you just was the black sheep. You was not chosen. Most of the chosen seed have been the black sheep, guaranteed. Okay, because as the black sheep, you stand out. You're different. You're the one that's not like the others. And so you get treated differently. And maybe for a time throughout your life, it's like, well, why am I always the one that's left out in the cold? Why am I always the one that's, not accepted by others? Why am I constantly going through poverty? Because this is poverty. This is dealing with financial difficulties. This is dealing with health issues. This is dealing with, like I said, abandonment, lack mentality. Okay. And another part of that is because this is a window of a church, okay? This is representation of a window of a church. Another part of that is never really feeling as if the church or the religious structure was exactly where you belonged, okay? You may have went to the church for or to religious structures seeking to be accepted, seeking to be acknowledged, seeking to come out of the cold because you felt abandoned by those people that was in your intimate circle. But there was something about even that structure where you never felt like it was soothing to the coldness that had been placed within your heart based on all of these painful situations that you had gone through. And so both of these cards, what they have in common is it's a lot of darkness in these cards here. And so, of course, in your sleep state, your eyes are closed. Not only are your physical eyes, your spiritual eyes is what's closed. You can't see through the darkness because you end up attracting so much dark energy to you through this energy of pain, sorrow, grieving, okay, poverty, lack mentality, abandonment issues, you attract so much dark energy to you that in the spiritual realm, you cannot see your way ahead. And so it ends up feeling as if you're stuck in a position that you can never get out of. This was the agenda of the enemy, to keep you surrounded by the dark energy that they were sending to you. Dark magic, spell work. They wanted to make sure that you would never rise into your divinity. And as long as you laying flat on your face and you looking down and you keep these knives in your back and your spiritual eyes are closed, then it was easy for this current power structure to maintain their position of power as long as the chosen never awaken to who they are. And so this is where you might say, okay, because I've been trying to figure out, well, why has this been happening? It's been happening because your enemy was greater than those people who was in your immediate circle that hurt you, or those people in your immediate circle that abandoned you and made you feel less than. Those people were also being manipulated by the enemy because they were an easy target for the enemy, being that they're not specifically chosen for a divine purpose, because the chosen have a divine purpose. Like I said, it's to bring justice, it's to bring balance, it's to break the generational curses. These are major assignments that only certain people, certain individuals can take on. And so just like passage says, the Most High won't put more on you than you can bear. Well, many of those people that was around you, they went through these things, but they couldn't bear it. Some of them lost their lives. Some of them ended up on drugs. Some of them end up in mental institutions. Some of them ended up, maybe in prison for the rest of their lives. Not saying that chosen seed can't be in prison, because that's another part of the manipulation of the enemy. But just know that you was built different. This is where you separate the wheat from the tare, and you recognize the difference between you and those people that you grew up around who said you was always different. But you was different because you was set aside. You was different because you had a divine calling. You was preserved. You was being preserved for something far greater than they could ever imagine. Something far greater than even you yourself could ever imagine. Why? Because your imagination had been blocked off. That child, that inner child, had already been wounded since the very beginning, because the enemy made sure of it. You might have come into the world dealing with poverty. You might have come into the world watching your parents abuse one another, or watching one or more of your parents abuse drugs, abuse themselves, or be abused by your parents. These things could have started in your adolescence and carried all the way up into your adulthood until you finally was awakened out of sleep. And so let's see what else the enemy was doing against the chosen, okay? What else the enemy was doing against the chosen. So here we have the Page of Pentacles, okay? Let me clarify the Page of Pentacles here. So the Page of Pentacles is clarified by the Eight of Pentacles. This looks like, because the pages can deal with children, okay? It looks like from a very young age, you always was discovering things, okay? You always had curiosity. You always knew that you had gifts. You always, was very focused on certain things that you enjoyed doing. And I feel like some kind of way, this was a manipulation of the enemy. Let me see. So what do we have? The Eight of Cups in the reverse. Okay. So not being able to move forward, not being able to move ahead, because the Eight of Cups in the upright is being able to walk away and move towards your Nine of Cups, which is your wish fulfillment and your own personal happiness, internal happiness and fulfillment. So to be able to walk away from those things that was no longer serving you, coming out of that energy of confusion in terms of which way you wanted to go. So I feel like that's another thing. The enemy wanted to keep you confused in terms of what is it that you're able to do with your creative energy. Because the chosen seed are naturally extremely creative. We possess many gifts. And that's another part of the confusion that they wanted to place over you through their spell work and dark magic. Because it's like, okay, I'm good at this. I'm good at that. I know how to do this. And I could pursue that. But you still don't have the spark in you to be able to carry it out into fruition. And to be able to use those gifts to create abundance for yourself. That was a trick of the enemy through spell work and dark magic, so that you would always just feel like you're putting in the work, but you ain't going nowhere with it. Okay? You putting in the work, but you're not going nowhere with it. You constantly end up doubling back. You know, you take a few steps ahead and then you take 50 steps back. That was the trick of the enemy, to keep you in that space, because actually what I have at the bottom of the deck here is the Six of Pentacles. Now this Six of Pentacles, I feel like the enemy wanted to make you feel as if you always had to be in this energy of codependency, where you need others for something, where you're always watching other people receive while you sitting over here waiting for justice to work on your behalf. Always watching, always in this energy of having to ask others for help. Okay? Or it could also be, for some of you, you was always in that position of giving to others, over giving of yourself to others, but never receiving your balance, never receiving the reciprocity that you deserved. But I feel like for many, this was that energy of watching others receive, but feeling as if you've done a lot of things. You operating from a space of integrity. You've been a good person. You've been patient. Okay? And even still, you've been humble. And even through all of this, you still feel like you're waiting for them scales to balance out for you. You're still waiting for that good karma to come into your direction while you watch other people, you know, receive theirs. It was something about making you feel as if no matter how much work you put in, you still would not be able to move ahead towards your wish fulfillment and your happiness. So that was a large part of the enemy's agenda against you. So again, if you're wondering why you've gone through these things, this is those spiritual wickedness behind the scenes, okay, behind that dark, thick cloud that you couldn't see through, behind the veil, behind the pain. This is those entities, those beings, okay, who also are in the flesh, that do spell work, dark magic, which are the generational curses, specifically though to target, ultimately the target was to make sure that these generational curses would hit the chosen. So it's the same analogy of, you know, in biblical text, it speaks on when Christ was a young child, the king sent out and placed an order that all boys under 2 years old be killed off, and also called on 3 wise men to determine where Christ might be, where he might have been born, when he was born. They called on these 3 wise men in order to determine this. Now, these 3 wise men they didn't just possess any old type of wisdom. They possessed the wisdom of the stars. And this is why they was able to find him through the star of Bethlehem, okay? They was able to find him through that particular star because they understood how to use astrology and how to, because they called them from 3 different parts of the world. They didn't even come from the same space. So this is where that same analogy is what they do today. Like I mentioned, in terms of them taking down your information, where they could pull up your information through your natal chart and be able to get a very clear blueprint about your characteristics. Not saying that that's the whole of who you are, but it's enough information. That's just like somebody knowing your exact address. They know where you live. They might not know everything about you personally, but they know where you live. So if they want to get to you, they at least have that bit of information, right? Or someone having just a social security number. Okay, they don't have everything else attached to that, but they have that piece of information, which is very vital, right? And so because they have that, they're able to do a lot with it. So it's the same analogy. It's the same thing when it comes to your natal chart. These people have direct access to it, and you best believe they've been using it because they have people behind the scenes that say, okay, when is the next Messiah going to be born? Who's the next Messiah? And so collectively you say, okay, well, no, there's not just one. We're talking about Christ consciousness. We're talking about group consciousness. We're talking about the chosen seed coming together to form one body of Christ consciousness. And so there's many of us. Okay. And so they wanted to make sure that through each generation, they targeted a particular group of people, and they placed these curses over the whole of that group of people while inflicting pain, inflicting self-hate, inflicting poverty, inflicting, false narratives when it came to their spiritual belief systems. They made sure that they did the entire 9 yard over the entire community of people. Now I'm speaking on melanated people specifically. And so that to ensure that through each generation, okay, if a chosen seed happens to be born 2 generations down the line, the curses will still continue, so that that chosen seed will then be specifically targeted and in this energy right here. Okay, in this energy right here: poverty, lack mentality, stricken, grieving, laying flat on your face, feeling like you left out in the cold, feeling like you have nobody, okay, feeling like you can never come up out of the slums, you can never come up out of this dark energy. They were very, very, very intentional with what they did, okay? And so let's see what else. You also have the 4 of Cups. So again, this is that energy of you missing opportunities and blessings from the Most High because you don't even see it. Your spiritual eyes was shut off from these opportunities that was coming to you. Okay, that you're in, and this is not just, this is also your spiritual team that's surrounding you, that's trying to say, hey, take a look at this offer, take a look at this opportunity. This is a new cup. I'm trying to offer you this Ace of Cups that's going to bless you with a new opportunity, a fresh start, a new beginning, something that's emotionally fulfilling. Your cup, I want your cup to run over. That's your inheritance, that's your birthright. But the enemy made sure that you stayed in this state of confusion, stayed in this state of discontentment. And so even though your physical eyes are open, the only thing you're able to see is those things that sit before you. But if your spiritual eyes had been open, you would have been able to detect and to sense and to know that there was a new opportunity that was being handed to you, and you would have gotten up and taken a hold of that, rather than paying attention to these cups that have nothing in them. Paying attention to these cups that have nothing in them. And I'm also picking up this energy of your circle of friends. You was also surrounded by people like, of course, your immediate family. For most of the chosen, you picked up on an energy that you really wasn't welcome for the most part with many of them. But then when it came to your circle of friends that you associated yourself with, even then, you still felt discontent. You still felt unhappy. You still felt like the loner. Many of you was hermits. Many of you grew up introverted, largely because you had been through many things, okay? And so many of you was in that space where it was like, okay, if you attracted a friend to you, it was generally somebody, it was the blind leading the blind. If you attracted a friend to you, it was generally somebody who was going through hell themselves, and they didn't know how to get themselves out of the mess. But there you was following blindly, or you could have been the one that was leading, but you still didn't know where to go because both of y'all spiritual eyes was closed to be able to see through this dark veil. So this is that energy of missing great opportunities that could have lifted you up out of your circumstances. But this is where you needed to be at that time, because the thing about it is everything happens in divine timing. And so even though we all possess these enemies that are in these, in the underworld, okay, who possess this, this power, this so-called power in the realm of wickedness, even though we have these enemies, they have to recognize, and I'm sure they do recognize, that the Most High ultimately has the first and final say. In between that time, we have free will. We have the opportunity to take advantage of these new things that are being handed to us, but we have to first come out of this funk. You have to first come out of this energy of paying attention to the spilled cups. You got to first transform your mind. You got to shift your vision. You got to come back into that space of using your imagination to create what you want. And this is where you're able to open up your spiritual eyes and recognize that there's more out here than what the enemy wanted you to believe. And so a lot of times it's really after the enemy, because the enemy can only do but so much. And then at some point it does turn back around to self-accountability, where you say, I'm not going to sit in this energy anymore. Because the thing is, all throughout your life, you were still receiving little nudges. You were still receiving little nudges in spite of the pain and the things that you was going through. You were still receiving some sort of message that was telling you, okay, take this path. Because our intuition is sharp, okay? The chosen, we possess much wisdom. We have a strong intuition. We have great spiritual insight because these are a part of our gifts, our spiritual gifts. And so you was getting subtle messages, but you wouldn't listen to them, largely because you felt like, okay, I can't come up out of this. I mean, every time I look up, it's something new. I'm always on this karmic cycle. It's the same type of mess. I'm attracting the same type of partners. I got the same type of friends. I'm getting involved in the same type of jobs, career paths that don't go anywhere, that's not really providing you the security that you desire. Same scenario over and over again. And eventually you just come into this mindset where it's like, I have no control. The only people that have control are the ones who are in a position of power, and I'm not there, and I don't possess the ability to get there. When you get into that state of mind, then you give the enemy more ammunition to work against you with this spell work, because you have to be in a low vibrational state in order to be a host to spell work and dark magic. And so being that as the chosen seed, the enemy's agenda was to pass it down through generations, so that the moment that you come out of the birth canal, you stepping into hell. The enemy has been very strategic in maintaining that and has been quite good at it for some time in our sleep state. But how can you really applaud yourself for doing something against people when they sleep and they're not able to defend themselves? So this is why the enemy is so insecure. This is why the enemy is so intimidated by you as a chosen seed, because the enemy recognizes that they played dirty. They didn't play this thing fair. You see what I'm saying? Because if it was done fair in our awakened state, they would not have never tried us. They have to first put you to sleep. That ain't no real fight. Okay? That's just like somebody standing outside, they call themselves getting ready to square up or whatever, they getting ready to box and go at it, but you got to first put this person to sleep, and then you want to start hitting them and punching them and kicking them. How is that a fair fight? But see, the enemy is so foolish, and they so egotistical, and they so stuck in their carnal nature and wickedness that they really did believe, okay, I have power, and they walk around thumping their chest and looking at us as if we are less than nothing, when in fact they know for a fact that they put us to sleep before they can even put their hands on us, whether it be spiritually or physically. That's how afraid of the chosen they are. And so this is where you take your power back. You don't stay in this energy of being weighed down and burdened. This is where you get tired of carrying this load and you say, to hell with this, because this thing is obscuring my vision. I can't even see my way ahead carrying all of these burdens like this. It's too heavy for me. It's time for me to drop these burdens and free my hands of all of these things that's not serving me. Free my hands of all of these things that's been weighing me down, because this is what the enemy wanted, to keep you in this slave mentality, feeling as if you could never come out of them shackles. But first, it begins within the mind. First, it begins with that divine connection with the Most High God and awakening to the fact that you possess the authority. You're talking about a chosen seed. You're not just anybody. As a chosen seed, the amount of power and authority that you possess in the spiritual realm is so powerful, we can shake up the entire universe. You possess the ability to shift the weather if you wanted to. Collectively, we can do all of these things. Collectively, there is nothing that we cannot do as a child of the Most High God. Because the Most High God is the creator of all things. And the Most High God said, I chose you. I selected you to bring justice. I selected you to balance this energy out. And I need you as a vessel. I placed you here as a physical vessel, being that you're still a spiritual being. You're a spirit having a human experience. And so don't discount the fact that you're still in a spiritual realm. You're not just a physical vessel, but as a physical vessel, there's things that I need you to overcome. And there's things that I need you to do. And there's curses that I need you to break. Okay? And so this is where you take your power back and you say, I'm not standing for this anymore. In my sleep state, yeah, I would have sat back and said, okay, it ain't nothing I can do. Let me just lay here. But see, you've been getting that alarm has been sounding off for y'all. You've been getting the signs and the synchronicities and the messages and the dreams, and all of these different things have been coming through to tell you it's time for you to make a change in the way that you think, in the way that you live, in the people that you surround yourself with. It's time for you to some of you all have even been called to leave certain career paths, to take a different path and to step into your calling. Not everybody's position as a chosen seed looks like being placed on a platform in front of, many millions, thousands of people. Some people, as a chosen, your position is from behind the scenes. And you doing it from right there within your home. You breaking generational curses. You rearing up your children different. You see what I'm saying? You're from right in your home. You sending out, you projecting a different type of energy, a high vibrational energy into the universe because of your divine connection that you possess. That's powerful. And then there's others who are supposed to be out here putting in the work, awakening other chosen seeds, speaking out their truth, okay? Whatever your position looks like is no less powerful than the next chosen seed. We all come together as one body, and there's a greater purpose here. We all come together as one body to bring healing, so that we can get up off of our back and come out of sleep. It's time to come up out of sleep state. It's time to come into remembrance of who you are and what you was created to do. No longer sitting in that Three of Swords energy where you're constantly in pain and your heart hasn't healed and you're feeling bitter about your past. No, this is where you say, no, I'm getting up. I'm not staying here no more. And behind this is the hermit. That's why you ended up in isolation. For many of the chosen seed, y'all ended up in isolation. You ended up blocking out a whole lot of people, places, and things, and you ended up right there in hermit mode, having to do some deep reflection, having to shine this light on all of those dark areas. Because remember, this is what the enemy wanted, to keep you in a space of darkness so that you would never be able to see all this dark energy that was hovering around you. But now you possess the light. Now you possess that lamp. Now it's time to let your light so shine before man. But first you got to let that light shine before you. It starts with you first before you can come out into the world and allow your light to shine before man. So this is where you was placed in that cocoon in isolation so that you could really go within and do some work to self-reflect and to realize there's certain things that I have to purge. It's certain things that I have to cleanse out. Okay? So let me just pull one more card here. You have here the Five of Cups in the reverse, y'all. The Five of Cups in the upright is that energy of focusing in on those spilled cups. It's that energy of not being able to turn around to see new opportunities that are there, new potential that exists, infinite possibilities that exist. This is that dark energy. Some of you, and with this coming out in the reverse, this is where you come out of this energy. No more grieving, no more self-loathing, no more focusing in on the past pain. No, I'm stepping into my power. This is where you take off, because for some of you, the pain became so heavy that you begin to wear the pain. You begin to wear the pain. It became a part of your daily wardrobe to walk around with your head hanging down, focusing in on the past, walking around draped in darkness. It placed you in a position where you forgot who you were. But now you have the opportunity with this card coming out in the reverse to change this, energy. It starts with that divine connection. It starts with the shifting of your thoughts, creating the vision, doing what's necessary to break these generational curses. Like I said, when you break those generational curses, if you don't know all of the curses that was placed over you, pull out or print up the pages of Deuteronomy, the curses in Deuteronomy, okay? I got a doggone moth in here. The curses of Deuteronomy were specifically created to keep you in a space of being stuck for generations. If you read those curses in Deuteronomy and you look around your family and your generations that preceded you, you'll be like, wow. This is definitely the truth in terms of what I've gone through and what I've seen my parents, my aunts, my uncles, cousins, relationships, friendships. Yes, this is the curses that was placed over. So when you get rid of those curses, like I told you all, go check out that video, the biblical curses of Deuteronomy. That's not the exact title. I'll post it in the description box below for those of you who are interested in watching it. But that message was very profound for me when it was channeled through me, when the Most High showed me that. I had to bring it forward. And so for those of you who have not seen it, if you're not familiar with my channel, you want to be intentional about You can either tear those pages out of your biblical text, those curses, and write on it, I destroy and I release all of these curses from off of myself, my ancestors, my offspring. And if you have children, you want to destroy those curses off of the fathers of your children, their ancestors and offspring, or the mothers of your children, their ancestors and offspring. That way it doesn't carry through to the next generation. Okay? And you want to burn it. And if you ain't quite comfortable with burning that text, you can print it out and write the same thing over it, or you can sit down like I did, because I did both. I took it out of the biblical text and burnt it, and I also wrote it all down. I spent an hour writing it down, and I said, I declare and I decree that all of these curses are now broken off of myself and my lineage. We have divine assignments that don't look like what everybody, they want to tell you that it's about being in a passive state. Oh, just suffer long and suffer strong. Like I just did the message about long suffering. We are here to shift the energy and to ensure that judgment comes over the heads of the enemy who did not play fair. You're no longer asleep anymore. The alarm has already sounded. And many of you might have pressed the snooze button for a time because you didn't want to face the fact that, okay, this starts within me now. Now I got to do some work on me. But now, the times that we in, we can't afford to stay asleep. The body is awakening. Christ's consciousness is awakening. Okay? We are the body. And so it's our time now to shift this energy, to step into our position of authority, and to shut this thing down for the enemy. The powers that were, they in big trouble. Because the more of you that awaken and that take your power back and that break these generational curses, it's like pulling generators. Because each one of us is a generator to the power structure. Each one of us is a massive generator to the current power structure. And that's how they've been able to pretty much infiltrate the entire world with their wickedness. Because each one of us being connected to the beast, shackled to the beast, was a generator for their power structure. So imagine when each one of us unplug. Imagine when each one of us break those chains and say no more. No damn more. We ain't standing for this no more. It gets weaker and weaker and weaker until it's completely depleted of energy. And at that point, all they can do is sit back and allow their judgment to come over them while we allow justice to work on our behalf. We shifting the energy. We turning this whole thing around, y'all. I can feel it. So it's our time. So this is to answer those questions for those of you who are still trying to search for answers and find out what's going on. Why was these things happening? What can I do to shift the energy? You possess everything you need within you to take your power back and to reclaim your inheritance, your birthright, and your sovereignty. So that's what I got for you all. I love you. If you want a private reading from me, you can always email me. To donate to my channel, you can always Cash App me. I'll put that in the description box. And if you want to order my facial oils, my hair oils or my body oils, which you can use on your face as well, then you can always email me. And I look forward to talking to you all again next time. Let's continue to step and rise into our divinity and do what's necessary to shift this energy because it is our time. Okay, I'll talk to you all next time.